Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. Audrick Cashmere here, coming to you from under what I'm sure you've noticed already is a steady, gentle, and utterly relentless soaking rain today. Now, Alara's department assures me that this downpour is almost certainly a completely natural weather event. Pure coincidence, as they say, but, well, even if the magic static is giving the clouds a little extra push, it's a soft and manageable drizzle today. Nothing a sturdy cloak and a pair of tall boots can't handle. Though if you do step outside today, you'll want to keep your head on a swivel. Yes, the annual Salmon Run up the river has taken a slightly, vertical detour this year. Thanks to the residual static lingering near the falls, the local levitation effect has rather expanded. The fish are currently swimming quite contentedly through the middle of town and over our houses. Now, before anyone panics, let's be practical. At the speed these salmon are drifting, roughly the pace of a leisurely stroll, the only real threat they pose is to the local flying insect population, which, frankly, is taking a massive hit today. If a 2-pound sockeye slowly drifts into your path, just give it a gentle nudge to the side and carry on with your afternoon. Or, if you're so inclined, grab a net. Consider it a fresh, self-delivering seafood buffet. Just be mindful near open windows. No one wants a stray coho landing on their parlor sofa. Alara does tell us that the levitated migration should wrap up in 2 weeks, tops, as the static continues to drain off. But until then, carry an umbrella, watch out for dorsal fins, and please, enjoy the rain. You're listening to the Crystal Network. Good morning again, Moonhaven Falls. Audrick Cashmere here. If you're walking down High Street today, I do strongly advise you to keep your eyes on the sky and your hands possibly over your head. The shadowfen runoff continues to do, well, whatever it's doing to the local wildlife, and today's forecast still calls for light breeze, mild rain, and a high probability of migrating fish. Despite the aerial aquatic traffic, the wheels of commerce turn on. The Green Unicorns board is fresh with work for freelancers of all stripes, so let's take a look at what's on offer for this week's Adventurer's Call. First up, entry-level position, Air Traffic Controller. This is expected to be low lethality, but there is high slapstick humor potential. We recommend you bring a towel. The job title is Flying Salmon Deflector. Reward is 30 gold pieces per 8-hour shift. And frankly, the town guard knows there is no way to completely stop the migrating salmon from swimming through the air across the town right now. It's magic, it's annoying, and it's making the roofs a bit slippery. However, they are hiring a handful of agile individuals to nudge the flying fish around the main thoroughfares rather than allowing them to just swim straight through. We will need people stationed at the southern end of town, down at the leading edge of the salmon migration, as well as high on the rooftops to redirect schools away from marketing stalls. Best classes? Frankly, monk or any caster with a wind wall spell, so druid, ranger, sorcerer, or wizard. Why exactly? A monk's deflect missile feature is technically ideal for snatching mid-air trout and tossing them back down the river, though frankly serious overkill for a 5-pound salmon floating along at, 10 miles an hour. For sheer efficiency, though, any spellcaster who could drop a wind wall across the main street should be able to gently cushion and redirect entire schools over the rooftops all at once. Surprisingly, the town guard has a second job listed here, titled the Wandering Wisp Escort. Reward for this one is 25 gold pieces. The breakdown on this appears to be the minor harmless will-o'-the-wisp that have been floating up from the Shadowfen ruins seem to be getting confused by the street lamps and are now lingering outside bedroom windows like buzzing nightlights. A couple of elderly residents have begun regularly complaining, and the town guard would like someone to gently guide the wisps back toward the southern tree line with a lantern and a jar of sweetened tallow. Best class for this? Probably a bard, a sorcerer, maybe a rogue. This should be pretty low-risk solo work, just takes a steady hand, high charisma, or a light foot to lead the stray lights out of the residential wards without scaring them into, zapping you. For a third one, oh dear. It would appear that Sheldon has posted a job for this week. The Fenfog Pumice Scrub. Reward is 35 gold pieces per job, estimated 4 jobs per day possible per person. The breakdown on this is that the damp, heavy fen fog rolling off the marsh has left a greasy, sticky residue on most of the town's exterior wards and shop signs. It would appear that Sheldon would like to hire some additional hands, 1 or 2 more people, to walk the market strip with a specialized alchemical soap to scrub the signs and building exteriors clean before the grime hardens. Best class for this one? Probably low-level fighter, paladin, or artificer. This is honestly just simple manual labor combined with a basic understanding of alchemical cleaning agents. This would be a great job for a pair of fresh-faced mercenaries looking for some quick spending money before they move on to the next big thing. Moving up a little bit, let's look for some mid-tier quests. These should be jobs for newish, full adventuring groups. We're looking at like 3 to 5 low to mid-level heroes. Oh, well, look at that. The first job I'm going to list off for this one is the Subterranean Symphony. It would appear that, following our recent trade agreements, the Formian Hive beneath the plateau has developed a fascination with surface music. They are seeking a full, patient adventuring party to come down into the tunnels and teach the diplomats and drone artisans how to make their own music. Now, there is a mild twist to this one. It seems that the Formians have been speaking to the Faded, and a number of their folk have already begun introducing new genres and even instruments down there, so you'd probably best be ready to hear classical tavern tunes adapted for telepathic mandibles, or possibly old Dwarven war chants played on gnomish synthesizers, or some of the new instruments introduced by our Faded brothers. Best group for this? Bards, obviously. Honestly, though, anyone who can carry a tune. While bards are the obvious choice for teaching musical composition, the Formians honestly don't care about spellcasting. What they do care about is rhythm, passion, and structure. So anyone with an instrument, or even a good singing voice, should really jump at this one. This is a fantastic non-combat contract for a new party looking to build diplomatic rapport with our insectoid neighbors. They are offering 400 gold pieces plus hive hospitality as well. Job number 2, looks like there is a call to clear out the Silt Cavern nest. Reward for this one is 450 gold. The breakdown on this, recent runoff appears to have pushed a pack of amphibious mud mephits, as well as giant crayfish into the irrigation cisterns beneath the lower farms. They have begun damming the water flow to make a fairly muddy nursery, and the crops are starting to be affected. Best group for this one, probably fighter or barbarian, someone to hold the narrow ledge in slick subterranean space. Wizard or a sorcerer would also be excellent, someone with Thunderwave or maybe even Shatter to help clear out the mephits and bursts, and of course a cleric or a druid to cure any of the swamp rot fever that these creatures may be carrying in their claws or pinchers. For the high-level quest, I see an official seal from Lord Kendrick. The job title is The Eight-Legged Embargo. It is listed as a 3,000 gold piece retainer, plus an official double bounty matching. Rumors have apparently reached Lord Kendrick that a neighboring kingdom across the mountains to the north is suffering from a nightmare plague of spiders, and we're talking specimens of unnatural and increasing size which are invading towns and trade routes. Lord Kendrick is funding a high-level expedition to cross the Serpent's Tooth Range, investigate the infestation's origin, and then ensure it does not cross the pass into Moonhaven. Now, this is a rare double-dip incentive. Lord Kendrick has agreed to match whatever official bounty the foreign kingdom is paying you, gold for gold. You just need to bring back an official stamped document stating what the bounty was for, and verified with the appropriate seals. Ideally, you want a full party for this. You're going to want area control caster, probably wizard or sorcerer. I would recommend fire or evocation. Spiders depend a lot on swarming in massive numbers and a high-level area of effect spell like a fireball, wall of fire, even incendiary cloud or something similar. They're almost mandatory to burn away webbing traps and clear entire nests at once, although you may want to make sure your mage has not overly specialized, as there are known spider types that are resistant to flame. You're definitely going to want a frontline anchor, probably barbarian, maybe paladin, someone to stand at choke points and absorb heavy physical hits. A paladin's aura of purity or lay on of hands would also be great for neutralizing high-potency paralytic or necrotic venoms. You're going to want to scout, probably ranger or rogue, someone who can navigate the high passes and track the giant arachnids across unfamiliar terrain. It will likely require elite survival skills just to avoid walking into canopy ambushes. And then you're definitely going to want a combat medic, cleric or druid, I would say. With giant spider swarms comes massive doses of potentially lethal toxins. So having greater or lesser restoration, protection from poison, any kind of high-tier group healing on tap, this is almost essential for surviving deep behind potentially chaotic enemy lines and bringing everyone back in one piece with, their insides unliquefied. Well, whether you are swatting fish off the bakery awning, jamming it with giant ant people, or hunting monster spiders in the northern reaches, the valley apparently has a job with your name on it. So please head down to the Green Unicorn and sign out on the parchment. This has been Adventurer's Call on the Crystal Network. Welcome to you, the daring high flyers and sky captains. A boisterous tip of the hat to the bookies, the gamblers and the pit crews. A warm wave to the carpenters, the medics, and the citizens of all walks of life here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroads Chronicles. I am your host, Audrick Cashmere. Tonight, we are talking about speed, gravity, and the absolute limit of small stature athletics. If you have peered through the rain down toward the base of the Moonhaven Falls today, you have undoubtedly seen the seasonal run of the valley's fish coming up the Cascades. But while most folks see dinner, or possibly a nice photograph, a pair of local innovators saw something entirely different. They saw a racetrack. Joining me today in the booth is the organizing duo behind the Valley's newest sport. Speaking for the team, the Harengon promoter, Master Lightfoot Hopstep, and perched quietly on his shoulder and wrapped in an oversized wool scarf, his partner, a rather timid gremlin named Twitch.
It is a pleasure to be here in the dry warmth with you, Audrick, an absolute pleasure. And Twitch says he would prefer the sound of rain on a roof over being out near that fountain anyways. Apparently it makes him twitch significantly less.
Well, we're quite glad to house the two of you today. Now, Master Lightfoot, let's talk about this grand announcement of yours. I understand Lord Kendrick's office has actually already officially signed off on your new event?
That is right, yes. It is signed, sealed, and stamped with the royal wax approval, Audrick. The realm's inaugural Grand Flying Fish Ascent is officially a go. We are going to be setting up the starting gates right up at the north end of town, nearest the falls.
Now, just for clarity's sake, this is not a race for everyone, correct? There are some very strict physical entry requirements?
That is correct. The competition is strictly for the fun-sized folk. To enter, a competitor must stand at 42 inches of height or less, or 107 centimeters for those who have begun to measure by that newfangled faded decimal system. Gnomes and halflings, kobolds and goblins, even the adventurous younglings are all welcome, really. We're running 3 heats a day, starting this Friday. The morning splash, the midday mayhem, and, of course, the twilight run. Perfect for spectators, participants, and, of course, those who enjoy respectable wager.
Let's talk mechanics for just a moment here. Getting to the top of the Moonhaven Falls is a very steep climb for pretty much anyone, let alone someone under 3.5 foot tall. How does one actually win this race?
Well, if you're boring, you take the bridges or swim ashore and then scramble up the rocks or perhaps run up the wagon road. But if you actually want to win the cup, you're going to have to get airborne. The winning strategy is very, very simple in concept, but terrifying in execution. You leap out into the spray, hop from flying fish to flying fish, grab a hold of a prime salmon as a mount, and accelerate the beast all the way to the top of the waterfall.
Now, as an interviewer who knows about how crafty our local adventurers can be, I need to ask you about the fine print here. What's to stop a wizard from bringing a mechanical glider, just casting levitate, or perhaps have a friend blast them up the cliff with a thunderwave spell?
but we thought of that now, didn't we? Ironclad rules are what stops them, Audrick. We've worked very closely with the Arcane Academy to keep it very pure. Absolutely no flight spells under a competitor or spectator's control are permitted. No enchanted brooms, no boots of levitation, no mechanical wings, no catapults, and no teleportation of any kind whatsoever. That being said, gravity-bending cantrips and gliders are in fact permitted, as are spells like Featherfall or Mage Hand, but only if they are cast by the participants, as they can only help you to go up quicker, land safely, or perhaps attempt to steer your mount.
Now that's interesting. What if someone brings a tamed flying beast, or, say, a giant trained dragonfly to ride?
Absolutely banned. That's right. Twitch says that only local untamed wildlife present already in the river, like the leaping fish themselves, may be used as mounts or footholds. No bringing your own steeds.
So this is intended as a test of wild athleticism. Though, speaking of local wildlife, the waters above the basin are fairly infamous this time of year. You know that, right?
Yes, the Upper Crag residents. Right. Twitch makes a very good point here. Competitors do need to be fully aware that the local bear population is extremely active and aggressive right now.
Obviously, the bears are aware of the fish run.
Oh, yes, intimately aware. As you near the riverbanks, the crest of the falls, you'll be navigating around wild faybear, razor-sharp glass bear, hungry owlbear, and, rumours are persisting of a rather shocking unnamed electrical bear variant nesting near the upper rocks.
Thunder bears, yeah, that's just what Moonhaven needs. A new hazard.
Well, if your fare starts standing on end, it's probably best to turn off. Now, we have hired a few off-duty town guard to stand by with very long poles and fish buckets to keep the bears mostly distracted. But let me be clear to all participants and applicants, and I'm going to try to slow down just a little bit here. While efforts have been made to safeguard you, your safety is absolutely not guaranteed. This is very much enter at your own risk. Bring your own gear, and do watch out for the claws and other attacks.
So you're intending for this to be a thrilling, dangerous, and utterly absurd addition to our local sports calendar, then? Because I'm not going to lie, it sounds like a lot of fun to watch, but I'm not sure I'd want to participate. Well, Master Lightfoot, Twitch, thank you for visiting our studio tonight. I do look forward to Friday's first heat.
Oh, thank you, Audrick. Registration opens tomorrow at the Northern Docks. We'll be bringing a measuring stick. Twitch says goodbye.
And that was Lightfoot Hopstep and Twitch, bringing some new high-flying chaos to Moonhaven Falls. You're listening to Crossroads Chronicles here on the Crystal Network.
Good afternoon, Moonhaven Falls. And what a truly marvelous afternoon it is here on the plateau. The mountain air is crisp, the ley lines are settling quite nicely into a lovely, predictable hum, and I am enjoying a rather exquisite cup of smoked black tea. If any of you should have happened to look upward toward the high ridges yesterday and noticed a rather prominent glowing red X melted into the granite overhang near the western cliffs, do not be alarmed. It's merely a small piece of landscaping architecture. A simple, friendly reminder to certain short, trenchcoat-wearing neighbors that, while I am strictly law-abiding, civilized, and a deeply neighborly sort of creature who respects local property boundaries, I am also fully capable of turning a cliffside into liquid glass in under 4 seconds. Please consider it a mark of distinction. I hear those caverns are suddenly quite completely vacant. Indeed, very fascinating how quickly some people move on to a different climate. Our answers for last week's questions are as follows: yarn, a candle, leather, a door bar, lamp oil, an hourglass, and a scale. Now that our minor local pest control has been handled with the appropriate decorum, we can return to the true purpose of this broadcast, testing whether or not your mortal intellects can keep pace with mine. I have prepared 7 fresh new hurdles for you, simple, elegant, and entirely unbothered by the static, much like myself. Number 1. I am a heavy black belly, forged from raw iron. I stand upon 3 short legs above roaring coals. I hold your stews, your broths, your soup. I drink in the heat all day long, without ever taking a single bite for myself. What am I? The first of 7 elegant hurdles. Do please take your time with it, Moonhaven, though try not to take too long. I should hate to think this valley's mines are as slow as its builders. Timmy will of course be waiting at the desk as usual. Until next week, Moonhaven, do try to be neighborly with each other.
Good afternoon, Moonhaven Falls. I am Selene and this is the Magic Minute. We begin today with a stern administrative notice from the Arcane Academy. Earlier this week, it would seem that Gary brought the local kids club by the campus for what was meant to be an educational afternoon tour. However, our newly reinstated freshmen took it upon themselves to provide some unauthorized entertainment. While the children were undoubtedly thrilled, the administration is profoundly unamused by the sudden proliferation of flying, teleporting, neon-color-changing local flora and fauna. The faculty would like to firmly remind all students and staff that all familiars and class pets must be officially registered and bound to the perimeter wards to prevent them from wandering off. Furthermore, as a direct consequence of their enthusiasm, those very same freshmen have been volunteered by the staff to personally correct every single magical mishap resulting from whatever it was they taught the children. For the next 2 weeks, a member of the senior staff will be stationed at the main gates to collect complaints from affected townfolk, so if your family dog is currently levitating 3 foot off the carpet, do please file a ticket at the gate. Our artifact of the day is a marvel of simplicity, recently recovered from a very dry dungeon vault. It is the Ring of Fire Detection.
Now, on paper, a magic ring that detects thermal threats does sound like a fairly essential piece of gear, especially for a dungeon crawler heading to, say, a red dragon's lair.
Yes, it would be, Audrick, if it were not for a single uncompromising design feature. The ring's detection range is strictly touch.
Yeah, it's practically a running joke in the mercenary guilds. To find out if something's on fire, you have to physically stick your finger and the ring directly into the flame, at which point the gemstone will glow a bright, cheerful ruby red to inform you that yes, congratulations, you are currently burning. It provides absolute certainty at the exact moment you least need it.
Well, it does certainly sound rather absurd on the surface, Audrick, but it actually possesses one remarkably sophisticated arcane utility that most novice adventurers overlook: illusion verification.
Illusion verification? Selene, you're getting 3rd-degree burns to verify a campfire.
Ah, but consider high-level illusion magic. A powerful archmage or deceptive fiend could weave a major image or phantasmal force of a roaring wall of fire that looks, sounds, and radiates sensory warmth, even tricks your mind into feeling pain. Most mortals would flee in terror from such a phantom blaze. However, an illusion has no true elemental heat. If you reach out with a ring of fire detection and thrust your hand into the flames, the ring will not light up. If your hand passes through the inferno and the ruby remains cold, you know instantly that the flame is a lie. It completely bypasses the need for an intelligence inspection.
Huh. So, if it's a real fire, you burn your hand, but the ring lights up to confirm that yes, that's fire. And if it's fake fire, you don't burn your hand, and the ring would stay dark and confirm for you that it is in fact an illusion.
Precisely. It offers absolute empirical truth at the cost of a minor blistered knuckle.
I mean, I suppose, but I still think a simple wooden stick achieves the exact same result without requiring attunement or skin grafts.
Perhaps, but it is now time to turn to the inflexible threads. Today we address the messy, contradictory physics of elemental transmutation, the law of residual arcane properties.
Oh, yeah, this one. Isn't this the one you were complaining was an absolute bureaucratic mess? I mean, I get it. In recent years, high-level wizards and sorcerers have mastered techniques, like scribes using an awakened spell book, or maybe a metamagic user casting transmuted spell that allows them to swap a spell's elemental damage on the fly. It does admittedly make some sense. Take a standard fireball, swap out the thermal matrix for cryogenic energy, and then hurl a freezing ice ball instead.
Exactly, a brilliant display of flexible arcane theory.
Except, as you pointed out to me, the cosmic rules completely forgot to update the secondary physics. If a wizard turns a fireball into a sphere of absolute freezing ice, the spell still explicitly states that it ignites flammable objects in the area that are not being worn or carried. Think about that for a second. So tell me, Selene, how does a burst of sub-zero, icicle-shattering cold set a haystack on fire? Is it frostbite? Is the hay so cold that it randomly bursts into flames out of pure confusion?
It is a glaring flaw in the Matrix's secondary clauses, I admit.
Oh no, it gets worse. How about a spell like Flame Blade? A druid summons what should be a roaring beam of fire in the palm of their hand, something that sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius. Now let's assume that as they cast, they use their metamagic feat to transform that blade's damage type to poison. The blade is now made of a dripping, noxious liquid venom. Yet, according to the universe, this dripping liquid sword of sludge still sheds 30 feet of bright, radiant light. Why is poisonous sludge glowing like a lantern? Why does an ice storm ignite dry leaves? The architect lets you change the primary damage, but apparently they completely forgot to rewrite the side effects, like changing a horse into a fish. But the fish still breathes air and needs horseshoes.
Well, the weave holds to its foundational shape, Audrick. Fire is built on the concept of light and ignition. When you force the damage type to freeze or poison, the outer shell of the spell often remembers exactly what it was originally created to do.
Well, the outer shell of this spell is making a mess of the local ecosystem, and I honestly feel terrible for whatever freshman has to go and explain to a farmer why his barn caught fire during a blizzard.
Well, keep your pets grounded, check your rings before touching the stove, and do mind your elemental conversions. This has been the Magic Minute.
Up next, it seems Morwen Brightseen is already live at the Academy gates, where a local merchant is currently demanding to know why his prize-winning pig is now transparent and glowing magenta. You're listening to the Crystal Network here in the Lost Realms. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. But that wraps up another broadcast from our little corner of the world. As always, brand new episodes arrive every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, and I hope that today's show was entertaining, imaginative, and that it brought a smile to your face. If it did, please take a quick second to subscribe, drop a rating, pass on this episode to a friend or your favorite fantasy group. It's the absolute best way to feed the algorithm and ensure our signal stays strong every week. As a reminder, I personally create, record, edit, and produce all the content for the show, with the occasional guest appearance from my wife and children. If you'd ever like to send a little extra encouragement our way by buying us a monthly cup of coffee or a bottle of lemonade, you can find a link to do so down in the description, and we would be deeply grateful for the support. To all of our supporters, my family and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in every week. I look forward to catching up with you all down in the comments, and I hope you'll join us again next Tuesday. Until then, take care.